Okay, hello everyone. Been a while since I posted a video because I've just been too busy, but I thought I would do a video making this dress. So this is a pattern which I've had for a long time. In fact, it was before I started calling my patterns by like names, so it's just called the basic dress and top. But I have decided that this will be a pattern that will be free for PDF download. You can still get the printed copy if you like, but that will be paid for because of all the printing costs that it causes. So yeah, you can head online and buy it now, or download it now for free. You still have to add it to the cart, but there's no charge or anything. Yeah, so I will get started into making this. This is a really basic dress. There's no zips, nothing like that. It's just a pull on. It's got a ribbed neck. You've got a few different sleeve options, a few different length options, pockets, no pockets. There's lots of different things you can do, which is kind of why I wanted to make this one free, because I feel like it's a pattern you can kind of take from beginner and just do really basic sleeve dress, no pockets, basic neck, and that's kind of first project really easy, and then sort of build on it and start adding like little ruffles, start adding pockets and different things and playing around with it. I feel like it's a good pattern for that, which is why this is one I wanted to make free. Yeah, so I've done a few different types. So this is one I'll be making in this video. It's got the short sleeve with the ruffle and with pockets. But I've also made up the top version. I did this with a little lace trim around the neck as well as lace trimming down the center. And I did this with the longer sleeve length and put lace all over it too. This is made out of a soft viscose, so anything soft and drapey. If you're new to sewing and you want to start getting into those a little bit trickier fabrics like rayon and viscose, they're a little bit slippery, this is probably a good one to get started. I have made it in cotton as well, which is this one. This is really basic, no pockets, short sleeves. I actually think I managed to get this one out of 1 meter. I made the sleeves a little bit shorter and I cut them in the wrong direction. Then this is one of the first ones of this pattern I've ever made. It is very well loved. There's actually some like little holes from wear in it because I've worn it that much. These are probably one of my favorite things to wear for summer because I can just throw it on and it looks nice because it's a dress, but it's very minimal effort, and because especially these ones are made from rayon, they're just so light and flowy and breezy and easy to wear. This one I've got pockets on as well. And then another one of the first ones I made is this lovely one, which again is a rayon, super sweet, simple dress, and it does have the high-low hem as well, which kind of makes it nice because you can get a little bit of a shorter cut in the front, but full coverage in the back, which I personally enjoy. So let's get started into making it. Alrighty, so for this pattern, what you need is first the pattern, obviously. Mine has been very well loved. I reprinted out a few of these pieces because they were getting a little bit worse for wear. But others I have taped together a while ago. I'm going to use those. And then you need a ribbing fabric for the neck. This is optional, you can leave the neck as is or put a little bit of trim or finish it with bias binding, however you like. I really like the rib neck finish. I think it just makes it a little bit more casual and a little bit more comfy to wear as well. And then in terms of main body fabric, I have gone for this super soft rayon. Anything with nice drape is good. I have made it out of like a cotton lawn before. That's probably as stiff as I would recommend going. Cotton lawn's not super stiff, but it doesn't drape as much as rayon. So I'm using this rayon, and I've just matched the rib to a colour I thought kind of paired nicely. So now I'm going to cut it all out. The sleeve, need one pair, the front and back on the fold, one on the fold each, and then the ruffle, one pair, pocket ruffle, 2 pairs, pocket bag, 1 pair, and they'll be cut on the fold, and then the rib, just one on the fold. so I'm going to cut that all out now, and obviously if you aren't adding the pocket, you don't need the ruffle pocket and the pocket bag. If you're doing sleeve without the ruffle hem, you can leave out the ruffle hem. The dress you can cut at top length instead, and the sleeve you can cut at the longer length as well. So there's lots of different options for how you can finish it. Alrighty, so everything is cut out. I'm going to start with the pockets. First, in the instructions, I tell you to do the shoulders and the sleeve first. The only reason I'm starting with the pocket now is because it's kind of a little bit easier while the dress is a little bit more flat. But it really doesn't matter if you do this now or once the shoulders and sleeves are added. So first things first is I'm going to grab the ruffle pieces and place with right sides together, and I'm going to stitch along this long edge and then around the longer curve, and then leave that short edge and the shorter curve raw, and then I'll clip into it and turn it right side out. If you want to, you can top stitch it once you turn it right side out, otherwise just give it a good press. And yeah, so that's the first step, and then we can add it onto the body with the pocket bag. Alright, so the ruffle pieces are sewn. This is what it looks like before it's turned inside out or right side round. I've trimmed the corner, I've trimmed the seam allowance along the curve and snipped into it as well. And then I will turn it right side out and press it, and it will look a little something like this. So when it sits along the pocket, it has a nice little ruffle to it. So I'm going to iron that one, and then we will attach it to the body. Alright, so this is the side seam of the front. Here's the notch, and there is a drill hole right here. It's just marked with white on cream, so it's a little bit hard to see on camera. But pretty much what we're going to do is we're going to take the pocket with right sides facing each other like so, and then I'm going to put this piece here. This will need a few pins to hold it nice and straight and make sure you're not stitching over any of the nice ruffles. And then I'm going to stitch, this should be 1 centimeter away from the edge so that it doesn't get caught in the side seam. So we're going to stitch along here and then down here, and then I'm going to cut into that seam and do a little V cut at the end into the corners so it can all be turned onto the inside. And I'll do that on both sides of the front. Alright, so the pocket, little ruffle and the pocket bag have been sewn on. So it looks a little something like this. So I've cut down here and into a V at the end. And now I'm going to flip this down and put the pocket bag onto the inside of the garment. Give that a good press while it's still relatively flat and open. And you can top stitch any of these seams as well if you like. That's just completely personal preference. So this is what it will look like once it is pressed. So you can see it's looking really nice, neat, clean edge, and the top of the pocket is going to sit forward like that. Now what we're going to do is flip it so we're on the inside of the garment, and I'm going to take the other edge of this pocket bag and I'm going to stitch it on to this seam up here. So just following those same stitches we just did, I'm going to secure that down, and then after that I'll do this all at the machine at once so I don't have to keep going back and forth. But after that then I will stitch along this seam, and with this one you want to make sure you're catching this little V that we cut, so stitch right along there all the way down to the bottom. This edge I'm going to overlock, and this top one, I don't know if I'm going to overlock or not. It's kind of a bit small to go in the overlocker, but I'm worried it may fray. I might even just top stitch it down so there's that extra bit of stitching for security. Yeah, I'm going to do that on both sides. Alright, so that's what the pocket looks like from the inside. So I didn't finish this seam because it is going to be tucked under the pocket bag, so it won't really fray too much. And then I did end up overlocking over the top of this, just kind of caught it a little bit with the overlocker, and then stitched an overlock down that side too. So from the right side of the garment it looks a little bit like this, so we'll end up pinning that in place so it's sitting just a centimetre below that ruffle, like so, and then the ruffle just kind of sit over the top like that and create a nice little pocket. So I'm just going to pin that in place. You can baste it as well if you prefer basting over lots of pins. And now what I'm going to do is sew the shoulder seams. So the shoulder seams are nice and simple. I'm just going to take the front and the back with right sides together. Right sides are together there. And then I'm just going to stitch and overlock. Once I do that, I will then put in the sleeve. Alright, so I sewed the shoulder seam like so, and I've already pinned one sleeve in place, so pretty much I'm just going to pin along that whole armhole with the right sides together. So it turns out it should look a little something like that. And I've just matched up the notch as well at the back there. And you may find there's a little bit of ease around the sleeve head. There shouldn't be too much, but not enough to probably need to baste and gather at all. Just a little bit of stretching to get it on there. And yeah, so I'm going to do the sleeve for both sides now, stitch it on and then overlock. Alright, so the sleeve is sewn on, overlock and stitched. So now we're folding the dress in half, and we're going to stitch down the side seams, not in half I should say, at the shoulders. So it's right sides together, front and back together, and the sleeve in half. And so we're just going to make sure we align the armhole seam. We stitch all the way down and making sure you don't sew over that pocket ruffle. So I like to pin that out of the way to make sure it doesn't get caught, and also make sure that pocket opening is only 1 centimetre wide so that it doesn't gape or anything. And yeah, so when it's finished it will look super neat, but at the moment we're just going to pin everything out of the way so that we can stitch that down properly and overlock it, and then we can start moving on to the finishings of the neck, sleeve and the hem. Alright, so the side seam is all sewn up all the way down to the hem. I also, while I was at the overlocker, overlocked the hem, and I'll just end up turning that up and stitching it down. So I'm probably not going to show that on camera because it's a pretty basic step. But next I will move on to the sleeve. So you can just finish the sleeve by turning it up. That is one option, but I'm going to add the ruffle. So what I'm going to do is stitch this short side here together, and I will overlock that, and then I'm going to stitch this onto the edge of the sleeve. Alright, so that's been stitched and overlocked, and then the bottom edge has been overlocked as well. So I'm going to do two things in the next step. First one is I'm going to turn this up and stitch it down. Now because this is a curve, you're going to have to take it slow. It's definitely worth pressing it beforehand. If you're having any trouble, I suggest running a long thread through there and then gathering it in just slightly. It'll just help it sit on that smaller curve on the inside. You can also turn it under just a little bit less than a centimetre, usually just over the overlocking amount. I find it's kind of enough that you don't need to wiggle it as much as a full centimetre. So I'm going to do that, but I'm also going to attach this to the main sleeve. So with right sides together, I'm going to match up the underarm side seam there, and then stitch that here. So this will be joint with the right side together to that all the way around. And again, take this slow because it is a curve. Things can kind of stretch a little bit more. So lots of pins and slow sewing, and then I'm going to overlock that as well, and I'll do that for both sides. Alrighty, so the ruffle is sewn on and hemmed, so stitched on and overlocked, and then that's how it looks flipped down. It's looking really cute little sleeves. So the last thing we need to do is the neckline. So the neck, you can just fold it in, but I will note it is a wide neck, so if you don't like a wide neck, I suggest against doing that. But you can just fold it in if you like. I've done that before. You can also add a little bit of trimming. I've got one where I've put a little bit of lace around the top, which is a nice little feature. But for this, I'm going to add the neck ribbing. So for this, all we're going to do is stitch this shorter side together. So I'll do that first and then we'll attach it to the body. Alright, so I stitched that together and I also added a little label, which is completely optional. I just like adding a little label. So now what we're going to do is fold this in half so that it's a nice long kind of tube with that finished edge. And what we're going to do is, with right sides together, attach this edge to this edge. You will need to stretch it on a bit. So to make sure you're stretching it evenly, I like to put a pin at the quarter point. So a pin here at the center back, at the center front, and then a quarter of the way. And I'll do the same for the neck to match it too. So I fold it like so, and at the front here, one at the back, and then what I'll do is fold it up with those two pins matching and put a pin at the quarter points as well. And then we will stretch this on to that. You want to make sure you're stretching the rib only and not the dress. So with right sides together, it'll be stitched on, and I will overlock it as well. Alrighty, the neck is attached, so stitched on and overlocked. Because you stretch it on, it kind of means it is a little bit shorter at the top there and then stretches out to the neckline. I really love this rib neck, and I actually often, when I wear these dresses that I've made from this pattern, get comments on it. So yeah, that dress is all done. Alright, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to go online and download the pattern. I have also set up a coffee, so if you enjoy the pattern and you want to give a couple of dollars my way to say thank you, feel free, but obviously no obligation at all. Also feel free to follow me on Instagram. I'm so much more active over there. As much as I would love to make a million videos, I just don't have the time. So yeah, thank you for watching. Subscribe, comment, like, all that good stuff, and I'll see you soon.